I've spent the last few months asking myself to what extent sinning in a video game can be considered a sin in real life. And this happened because I was reading the Confessions of St. Augustine, and he was telling a story of how he was stealing pears, but he didn't do it because he wanted pears, because he had better pears at home. He did it just to feel the pleasure of stealing the pears, because it made the pears tasty. And that made me think, if you steal a pear in a video game for the sake of stealing the pear, and you just want to feel that pleasure of theft, isn't that also a sin? Isn't that the exact same thing? I mean, there's not a victim there, but a sin is a sin in its effects, in what bad things happen, or isn't a sin also about what internally happens in you? Because if you internally do something that is a sin, but it doesn't affect anyone, it's still kind of a sin, you know? Because it's still in the way it affected you. And in my contemplations, I eventually thought of GTA, and I was thinking, the idea of GTA is essentially, well, the main selling point of GTA is that you get to to act on your dark urges that you usually repress. Like, you get to just drive however you want, just ignore stop signs and run people over. And if you want to kill someone, you can kill them. And if you and that's not to say that killing someone in a game is bad, period, because like a lot of people, usually when they say that video games are bad because of violence, like, oh, violence in video games makes people do violence in real life and shoot people, blah blah blah. But I don't think that really is true. It's just sometimes it can be sinful in of itself. But killing in games is not always bad. Like, if you play a war game like Star Wars, you're killing the stormtroopers, and you're killing people, like you're shooting at them, but it's not for the pleasure of killing them, you know? It's a different reason. The internal reason for killing is different. You're not just doing it because you want to kill that guy. You're doing it because you need to win the war. You're running the missions, you're running the war. It's different. And this is... And another example of this is also like a game like Fortnite or Valorant. You're just shooting the representations of people in the game. You're not killing in-game characters that are dying. You're just eliminating someone's, what's it called? Someone's character model. What's the word? Someone's... Yeah, you're not doing it to kill. You're doing it to outcompete them. To outplay them and to win the match. There's a difference between those two different things. And I mean, hypothetically, even if you're playing even if you're playing the character of a noble person who's fighting in the war, you could theoretically just revel in the bloodshed of shooting them, and that would be... This guy. People. Yeah, as I was saying, I would argue that is still bad, because it's about what's internally happening. You are sinning because of your sadistic pleasures that you're feeling. at the suffering of these fictional people. But that's not really how the game is designed to be played. So it's not the game being sinful in of itself to play. It's just that you can choose to interact with it in a sinful way, just as you could with pretty much anything. Like, you can interact with the world in a sinful way. That doesn't mean the world is bad and you should avoid it. Because you can't avoid it. But some games tempt you to... Some games lean in on that pleasure of the sadistic aspect a bit more. They make you more tempted to feel that way. Like, even my previous examples, they could be played sinfully or unsinfully, but there are games that, by virtue of playing them, they are sinful. Like, if you're playing a hentai game, obviously, it's low-hanging fruit for me to bring that up, kind of. You probably already know that these games are sinful to play. What's really more pressing is the games that are more in the middle. Like a game that for a game like GTA, you could potentially avoid feeling sadistic pleasure at everything, but it's everywhere, and you'd have to be actively trying to escape it at every moment. And by playing GTA, like, you're putting yourself in what you might call the near occasion of sin, and you're putting yourself in the near occasion of feeling the sin of you're putting yourself in the near occasion of the sin of you're putting yourself in the near occasion of sin by making yourself almost feel these sadistic pleasures, and if you try to avoid it. And at least in Catholic doctrine, you're supposed to avoid the near occasion of sin. That's like a thing explicitly said in the confession prayer that I use. So the conclusion from my months of contemplation, all put in a sentence, would be to avoid games where you're highly tempted to feel sadistic pleasures, such as GTA, and play instead games like War Games or Hollow Knight that are not with that. I mean, I haven't actually played Hollow Knight, so I'm kind of going on vibes, but you know what I mean. Avoid games that make you very much tempted to feel sadistic pleasure. And that is it. I'm out. Oh. That's it. I'm chill. Cheers.